We're celebrating a little bit early since we have plans, and I'm going to show y'all what we're having for dinner tonight. It's not your typical 4th of July food, but it's what we wanted, or what I wanted and what the kids wanted, so we combined it together and had a compromise. Super easy dinner, but it's going to feel a little bit better. I don't know. It's very, very, very simple, and some of it is processed, but still something that we like and to warm our hearts. So the first thing we're going to get going is the thing that takes the longest, at least in the oven. Everything else, when I say super simple, I mean super simple. We're going to make an apple pie, and hopefully this fly will leave us alone. But I have some apples that we canned last fall when they were nice and yummy, and we had some extra, so we're going to use this, and we are going to use pre-made pie crust. So we're taking the shortcuts where we have them. I do not feel bad about that at all. So if you don't have apple pie filling, you can buy canned apple pie filling from the grocery store and just season that up. We add cinnamon, nutmeg, and a touch of salt into my apple pie filling. I'm not a huge fan of clove, so it usually depends on if I have clove left over from making like pumpkin pies and stuff, if I even put that in there. This fly is really going to get on my nerves. So my pie shells have been sitting out, but obviously not quite long enough. We're just going to press it into the bottom of our pie dish, and this is a deep dish pie dish. Grease your pie dish if you're using one that needs to be greased. This is stoneware, and although I haven't used it in a while, I'm still hoping that it has that nice coating from the last time when we used it and we greased it after. I'm just trying to press in all of these cracks. I hope y'all are having a happy 4th of July. I know growing up for me, it wasn't the greatest. I was always as a child very envious of the kids that had all the fireworks and had big plans. My family wasn't one of those. They weren't family oriented. However, last year, so 4th of July happens to be also the birth date that my daughter gave her cat. So we were celebrating her cat's birthday last year with some fireworks, and one of them took off and caught our hayfield on fire. So we won't be doing fireworks anymore for our house, but we will be doing the glow sticks. We always love the glow sticks. So I have that pressed in, and I have our oven preheating to 425. By the time we get this done, and it only takes a minute, the oven will be preheated, and this can go straight in there while we work on everything else. So if there's an excessive amount of liquid in your canned apples, I would pour it out, but we don't tend to overfill ours, or at least we try not to. I'm struggling. I was hoping with all of these kitchen gadgets I would have something rubber that I could grip onto better. My grip I feel like it's losing its grip lately. Oh my goodness. I need one of y'all here to give me some tips and tricks. How many lids or how many tools does it take to remove a lid? I just popped the seal, so I thought that would be it. I felt pretty certain that would be it. Oh, my arms are hurting so bad I'm not going to want to cook. Okay. So we're going to pour our second jar in. And oh my goodness, my arms. So, I need to drink a coffee. Yes, it's 5:30 at night. Yes, I'm still drinking coffee, but it's my comfort. So, we're going to add in about 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And this is just an estimate. It's to help us thicken up our juice that's in our apples. And I do not add sugar to my apples whenever I'm canning them, so I'm going to add sugar now. However, if you can apples and you've already added the sugar, just make the adjustment based off of how much you added. Oven is preheated. Usually this would be done. But we're adding in 1/2 cup of sugar. Now if you're using canned apple pie filling, do not add additional flour and sugar. So we're just going to mix this all together. I can smell the nutmeg. And I can feel my arms aching. So we're going to pour this down into our pan. And it's not quite as full as I would like it. I like my apples to be mounding over it. But I'm not going to add a 1/3 can. If Michael was home, I might do that because we would definitely eat it up. But Eleanor and I will probably have 1 slice and Thatcher will eat the rest of the pie himself over the course of the next few days. He's not a huge pie person, but he's not a huge sweets person, but he loves apple pie. So this is just our top. And it's not quite as thawed as I would like either. And you could easily make your own pie crust. It's just not something I wanted to do. I don't have the greatest luck with homemade breads and doughs. I'm working on it. Believe me, it's a goal of mine. But I usually attribute it to my very, very warm hands. So if you're using fresh apples, you definitely want this mounding over. Just going to make a few slits. Right. In the oven, this is going to go for about 45 minutes to 55 minutes. Just check it. If you're worried about your crust burning at the top, put some foil over the edge of it. I'm not worried about mine because I usually eat it even if it's a little bit burnt. We're going to pop this in the oven and move on to dinner. Alright, so the next part is we're having, well, you already know what we're having because you saw the thumbnail, but we're going to make pesto salmon. Just lining my baking sheet with some foil. And this is a smaller piece of salmon than we normally get, so I'm hoping this smaller pan will work. If not, we'll tuck an end under and it'll be okay. So, salmon, especially to cook it in the oven, is so simple. I'm using skin on because, well, it's cheaper. And if it sticks to the aluminum foil, I don't care. Okay, so I'm just going to put a little bit of olive oil on our salmon. And we will be using the pesto, but we're gonna make a little compound butter and put that. So I'm also adding in some grape tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. And to season it, I wish I had our new seasoning, but I can't find it. Since we're trying to transition everything over to the house, it's just, I'm missing a lot of stuff. We're still cleaning out and clearing out. So I'm using my Cosmos cow cover. So cow cover on some fish, but it is my favorite of their seasonings. We have multiple bottles between the shop and in here. And I'm seasoning it pretty heavily because we do love it. And the salmon will soak it up really well. But I pulled this out to show you quite often use lemon pepper as the main seasoning for this as well. So that is it for the salmon for right now. We're going to pop this in the oven. Usually I would say 350 if you want to do it low and slow and avoid those white like protein bubbles. I think it's protein. That's what it is, bubbling out. But since the oven's already going for this, I'm going to pop it in 425 for about 15 minutes. It does not take long at all, and salmon is very easy to overcook. So we're going to do 425 for about 15 minutes this time because I have the pie in there already. So while that goes, we're going to work on multiple things. We have some frozen corn. I'm going to put a little water in this and pop this bad boy in the microwave and let it cook. You could also cook it on the stovetop. And I'll let that be my partial timer for the salmon because that frozen corn is going to take a little while. And while that's all going, we're going to make our little pesto butter. So I just have a little stick of butter. It is salted butter. And, oh, I usually put a few tablespoons or a few slivers of butter in the pie. It'll be all right. It is better with butter. Always better with butter. But I'm just going to take, I'm probably going to take a little bit more than that. About 4 tablespoons or so of butter. And then, that one's way better than the other. Some pesto. And this is basil pesto. And yes, it is super simple to make, but I'm not sure if any of y'all have bought pine nuts. They are so outrageous that I don't know if I'll ever make my own pesto again. It's just, pine nuts are so expensive. Like, they've got to be hard to harvest or something. I don't know. But I tend to use a lot of pesto. It's up to you how much you want to use, but we like pesto. My kids call like the pesto sauce when we put it on some noodles of whatever kind. It's just they want green noodles. That's one of their favorite meals is green noodles. And it's really quick. So we're just mashing this butter into the pesto to make like a compound butter that we will put over the salmon when it's in its last few minutes or when it comes out of the oven, depending on when I remember it. Yummy. Alright, so that's good to sit like that. And then last but not least, I wanted rice, or I actually even wanted some barbecue beans just to make it feel like 4th of July, but the kids didn't want that. They wanted some of this angel hair pasta with herbs, the little rice roni stuff. So we're going to make this. Let me read the directions. But we need 1 1/3 cup of water and 2/3 cup of milk and the butter that I just put away. Alright, so I'm just estimating up to the 2 cups of liquid. Going in our saucepan. Our 3rd knife for the meal. We're going to add in 2 tablespoons of butter. It says we're going to bring this to a medium, or we're going to bring this to a boil and then slowly stir in all of this. Reduce heat to medium and cook for 5 minutes. So that's going to be awesome. So our dinner is basically taking about 15 minutes besides preheating the oven, because when the salmon comes out, the corn will be ready, the pasta will be ready, and we will be ready. The only thing that will be ready is our pie. So, since that is all heating up and going, I have a time for a drink of coffee. And what actually happens during this time is I try to get as many dishes done as I can so that after dinner I can just rinse off what we got off of, and most of the rest of everything is done because I hate washing dishes. Okay, so everything's done. I was getting a little bit worried about this pasta because it's thin, but I looked back at the package directions and it says it will be thin. So which I mean, that makes sense, that it was just really, really, really thin. I was worried that I had added the wrong amount of liquid to it. You can see how often we make that. We do like the rice roni, but we don't really make the pasta roni much. So I'm just spreading this pesto butter all over the top of our salmon, and want to do it while it's still hot so that that butter literally melts over the top of the salmon and it moisturizes it like skin. But it gets all over it, makes it nice and tender and juicy. I did have to let the salmon go an extra few minutes just because whenever I pushed on it, it didn't bounce back, or it bounced back too much in my opinion. And now we're just gonna serve it all up. And yes, I use my spatula to cut. Let's see. We'll get some of our noodles that probably still need to be soaking a little bit longer. You see how thin the sauce is? I double and triple checked. I did measure correctly, but it's still, it's thin. And then our salmon. We'll pop a few of these just burst tomatoes on our noodles. And there we go. Super simple dinner. And I would say 15 minutes, but ended up taking about 20. And our salmon is perfectly cooked, not overdone, and ready to go. So, thank y'all for joining us, and we will see y'all next time. Happy 4th of July, everybody. It says because America, that's why. They're little cocktail napkins, and just with the state of everything, I was like, yep, that's what we need. All right, here you go, Thatcher. You can set the table. What you doing? Here. Thank you, sir. Sissy.
Behind me.
Y'all can grab your drink.
No, I'm keeping these tomatoes on here.
Those are the ones you like, huh?
No. It's because they can make tomato sauce on there.
That's the kind of tomatoes that you like.
So I'm going to keep it on.
Okay.
Thank you for the world so sweet. Thank you for the food we eat. Thank you for the birds that sing. Thank you, God, for everything.